What's up, guys? It's PrimeTime KC. It's our second time doing this, but today we're joined by Arrowhead Pride lead draft and film analyst Kent Swanson. Kent, we appreciate you coming on the show.
Hey, no problem, guys. Thanks for having me.
All right.
Second attempt.
Yes. So, just a little rundown. How did you get involved with Arrowhead Pride?
Yeah, I kind of like everybody else has, that's kind of come through there. I started writing in the mentions or in the comments in the fan posts, and I caught Joel's attention at one point writing about the quarterbacks in the 2017 draft. Actually, that's what kind of got him to message me. So he asked me if I wanted to write. Uh, and things kind of just went from there. So I've been doing it for about 3 years, and it's been a really fun run. It's been really cool to be a part of this, and I got in at the right time with Mahomes coming in, and now the Chiefs winning the Super Bowl. There's been worse times to cover a football team. Let's just say that.
Oh, 100%. I mean, back in not even 10 years ago, it was worse to cover the Chiefs. I mean, we're going
Oh
back to
man.
2012, the 2-14 team. You came in at the perfect time. So for people, obviously, that didn't get to hear the recap, this is a draft analyst, and we were talking a little bit about the linebackers before, and Kenneth Murray and Patrick Queen. And Kent says that Patrick Queen is by far the best linebacker in this draft. Kenneth is a good player, won't fit the Chiefs as well. I do have a follow-up question to that. After those two linebackers, is there another one that could really even start on the Chiefs in this draft that you know of?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a couple that probably could. I mean, well, actually, there's a lot that could start because it's not going to be hard to start a linebacker for this
Well, that
football
is
team.
true, especially after losing Ragland.
Especially after losing Reggie Ragland. I think that means Damian Wilson's going to wind up playing the sandbacker, which means you're going to need a will. You're going to need a coverage guy. You're going to
Yeah.
need, like we talked about, maybe with a Patrick Queen. There's a couple guys that make sense. I think Zach Bond
Mhm.
actually has shown enough. The linebacker kind of played a little bit on the line of scrimmage as like a stand-up edge at Wisconsin. I got to see him at the Senior Bowl. He's pretty
Mhm.
good. He looked really natural in coverage, and I mean, I think he's a guy that makes a lot of sense. I think if you're looking like day two, there's a guy named Logan Wilson who actually we get to see at the Senior Bowl too. He has pretty good instincts in coverage. He's good in zone. He's a guy that I think can really actually improve the coverage of this football team. There's not a ton of those guys though, and a lot of those guys wind up going early, and that's kind of where it's really interesting for the Chiefs. Like if you're going to address the linebacker position, you almost have to do it early because the
Right.
value at the end in day two, day three, it's not as deep and it's not there for what they specifically need.
So yeah, you look at linebacker as probably the main need first round. I think a lot of people would agree with that. Do you think that there are impressive later round options at cornerback and running back, as those have kind of been the two other positions that a lot of Chiefs, just buzz is talked about going forward?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I think I don't like this running back class all that much. I don't love the day three options that are really available. To be honest with you, I'm not a huge fan of this draft class at running back. At cornerback, though, I think there's good value in any round. I think there is chances that you're going to be able to find value. I think the second round specifically, if the Chiefs wanted to hold off and wait till the second round to draft a cornerback, I think they could still get a pretty good player. Which is why if you can take a linebacker, if you can take Patrick Queen in the first round, that's perfect because you've got an ideal linebacker. I don't know if it's going to happen, but that's your ideal scenario. There's still a chance that you can get a guy that can step in and play pretty quickly at cornerback in the second round. So I think that's an approach that I'm fascinated to see when the Chiefs ultimately pull the trigger on corner because they might be able to wait a little bit later into the second round.
All right. So, when we talk about now the offensive side for this draft, we're all Mizzou fans, so we want to hear what, like, I guess you could say an expert in the draft thinks of this player. Albert Okawabion, however you pronounce it, tight end from Mizzou. Do you think he could go into?
Okuwebunam? Is that right? Is it Okuwebunam?
I
I
just
feel like it's Okue Bunam. I don't know.
Everyone
Though.
just let's just say Albert O and move
Yeah,
on
that's-
with it.
that's
I think that's
That's
what we
the
got
way
to
to
do.
go. Yeah, that's
yeah.
the route
I
to
feel
go.
bad for whoever has to announce his name on draft weekend.
Well, it'll be
But-
virtual, so it won't even be a real person probably. So there's
anyway,
that.
Let's say the Chiefs were to draft him, and Kelsey pretty much does what Alex Smith did to Patrick Mahomes. Do you think that would be a good pick for the Chiefs?
I don't know how perfect of a fit Albert O is with the Chiefs, and I'm not trying to damper your expectations. I'm not trying to slander the Missouri faithful here, but I first off, I think the way the Chiefs kind of approach things, they need a guy that's going to be a pretty consistent blocker. They need a guy. I mean, I think the thing you like about Alberto is his ability to get up the seam. He's fast. I mean, look what he did at the combine.
Mm-hmm.
4.49?
There's some. It was in the 4.4s. Yeah.
It was
insane.
Fast. It was fast. I would have liked to see him run the rest of his agilities and all that stuff, because that would have answered a lot of questions that we had about him, his change of direction ability and stuff like that. Because I think he's kind of a linear player. I think he's kind of a seam runner. I don't know how consistent of a blocker he is, and if he's going to be able to kind of fit into that role that the Chiefs typically like with their tight end too. And I don't know if he's kind of the same type of X, or like Y that Kelsey is. He's kind of an odd fit for them. I think like a team like the Saints, I think would be an interesting fit for him, because they like to get those tight ends up the seams. I think he'd actually have a lot of success with a team like that.
Yeah, and so, speaking more about the draft, the Chiefs did sign a running back today. I can't think of the name right off the top of my head. If anybody knows, DeAndre Washington, who was teammates with Pat Mahomes at Texas Tech. So I think, honestly, that might eliminate the thought of taking one in the first round, adding in another guy. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how big DeAndre Washington's contract is ultimately going to be. We'll see. One of the things that Chiefs have done a really good job of is they've taken a lot of lottery tickets at running back, and they've just tried to fill that room with a lot of good competition. And I think DeAndre Washington's that kind of guy, because they've brought in Mike Weber from Ohio State, I had a 4th-round grade on last year in last year's draft. They added Elijah McGuire to go with Darwin Thompson, Darrell Williams, and Damian Williams. They've got a lot of really good depth at running back now. I think what it does, I don't think DeAndre Washington eliminates them from drafting a running back necessarily, but I do think it's good business for them with how good Mahomes is. And look at all these guys that I just listed. There's not a 1st-round pick or a 2nd-round pick. I don't think there's a day 2 pick in that list. So you've got a lot of guys that are undrafted free agents or day 3 picks. You continue to do that. They've been able to find value. You've got the best player in the world who can maximize their skill sets. DeAndre Washington, he could wind up making this football team very easily. He's got the rapport with Mahomes. He's good out of the backfield, good vision. I mean, I wouldn't be stunned if the Chiefs didn't draft a running back at all.
So I'm going to loop back over to tight end. How big of a priority do you think that position is for the Chiefs? Obviously, they lose Blake Bell. They do sign Ricky Seals-Jones, but do you think that there's a possibility that they go tight end maybe in the later rounds? And if so, is there a player that you are specifically keen on for them to pick?
Keen on? There's a guy named Dalton Keene that actually makes a little bit of sense, honestly, actually, as a day 3 prospect, believe it or not. If that was intentional, salute to you.
Yeah, it was not, but I'll take it.
Yeah, I mean, if the Chiefs, I think the thing that's tough for the Chiefs right now is if they had more draft picks, I'd be all for them trying to grab a tight end. And I think the problem right now is at 5 picks, there's some very obvious needs for at least depth. You need a corner, you need a linebacker, you need an interior offensive lineman. You need safety depth, believe it or not. You need a wide receiver. You have to get out of this draft class with one of the wide receivers. I mean, I just listed 5 there. That makes it tough. That makes it really tough to try to deal with that and with the limited assets. Now, that being said, I mean, there's definitely some guys that would make a little bit of sense. I think Dalton Keene as a blocker actually, has some potential, and that's kind of what the Chiefs typically like. He's 6'4", he's 250. He's worth taking a look at for sure. So I mean, it just depends on. I mean, maybe if they trade back and they get more assets, it makes a little bit more sense to grab tight end. But that's not what I would bet on necessarily.
All right, kind of going away from the Chiefs now. When this is all said and done, 20 years down the road, who would you think has a better career, Joe Burrow or Chase Young?
Ooh, that's a good one. I think Joe Burrow. Man, I buy Joe Burrow. I'm buying in on that guy.
Yes,
absolutely.
I don't think so, because when you send someone to Cincinnati, you're just ending their career.
Tell that to AJ Green though.
Exactly. Look at him.
You know what?
He's arguably
might-
one of. Go ahead, Cam.
No, sorry.
No.
You might be right. Like that's the thing that's scary. Like if I'm betting on Joe Burrow, then I'm 100%. I think it's Joe Burrow. There could be a little bit of like his career gets ruined because of the situation.
When you look at it, Andy Dalton, where is he now?
Okay, but let's not act like Andy Dalton coming out
Did he
of
ever win a
college is the
playoff
same
game?
animal
No.
That was a lot of Andy Dalton's fault. He played very poorly in the playoffs.
What
Let's
did
be
AJ
real
Green
here.
do last year? Nothing. Literally nothing.
Okay,
Yeah, but I don't know.
that's blasphemous. He got hurt. AJ Green's had a heck of a
And
career.
we could go back on the previous episodes where you said he'll be back by week 2. And I said, watch, he'll be out for the season. And he said, I'm stupid. Look at me now.
If they were a good team, AJ Green would have come back and played. Okay, he just saw no reason to come back in the contract year. Okay, let's be real there. And secondly, if you're talking about bad franchises, Chase Young going to the Redskins, you act like that's not an incompetent franchise.
I mean,
They might ruin him too.
Yeah, I mean, that's what happens.
They might both get ruined.
It used to be the Browns that you didn't want to go to. Now it's the Bengals and Redskins. And it still might be the Browns, to be honest.
I would still rather go to the Bengals than the Browns.
Yeah.
I still would.
I disagree.
I will say this about the Bengals. They drafted Jonah Williams last year, got hurt, so they're going to have him back. They've actually done some pretty good things, I think, to kind of insulate that roster. They've got good weapons. Like, they've got a lot of weapons for them.
Yes.
It could – and Zach Taylor, I kind of like – I'm not out on Zach Taylor yet either. And I think Joe Burrow, he might be that good that he just transcends that too. He's a stud. We comped him – so, like, our comp for him in the draft guide was Tony Romo. There's a lot of Tony Romo to him. There's creativity. Maybe a little bit more of the clutch gene, but that definitely more of the clutch gene. But I think there's some similarities between the two guys.
I've heard that a lot. I've heard that comparison between those two quarterbacks quite a bit. So I'll ask you another one here. And 20 years down the road, and assuming that they are able to stay healthy, who's the better quarterback, Joe Burrow, Tua Tagovailoa?
Yeah, I think it's Joe. I think Joe's more willing to challenge down the field, and like he's fearless, and he has a lot of success down the field. I mean, that dude, what he did at LSU this year, I've never seen. I'm not joking. I've never seen a college quarterback do that, and his ability to just not just do it with accuracy, but like do it with the kind of guts it takes to do it at such a high level. I'm just blown away. Like that dude is tough as nails. I like Tua. I think Tua, you've got to be terrified of the injury history, and I don't think there's as much. I think there's a lot of potential in him, but I think you got to be really worried about it. Joe, I think, is just a savage, and he's had so much success to this point. It's going to be hard for me to deny him.
What did he do? Like 65-6 last season?
Yeah,
Something
just casual
like that.
Then, like 7 touchdowns in the first half in the first round of the college football playoffs.
And I've just been saying this since I started watching him. He's the most accurate college quarterback I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
And granted, I'm only basically 19 years old, but like I've watched Luck in college. I watched RG3. I mean, I've watched all these Heisman winners. I've never seen a quarterback like Joe Burrow.
He does. Like the thing that impresses me, I've never seen a quarterback from 20 yards and beyond be so accurate.
No.
Like that's what it is. Like I mean, you can Tua's deadly, but inside 10 yards, he's perfect.
Right.
Joe is just out here.
It's insane.
Slinging it and just placing it wherever he wants 50 yards down the field. Like he's amazing. I love
consistently
it so much.
too. Like It's not just like he reminded me so much of Aaron Rodgers. Like I just would watch him and I'd be like, God, he can just put the ball wherever he wants every time. It's insane.
Yep, that's kind of what he did something that it's unprecedented what he did this year.
Yeah, totally. John?
Oh, yeah, so we'll move on here. Looking at an AFC rival, we'll stay away from the Chiefs for a little bit. The New England Patriots, do you think that there is an option for them to move up and get a quarterback? Do you think that that's something that they should do, and do you think it's something that they will do?
And if so, who?
Yeah, if they're gonna do it, it's probably Jordan Love. If it's Jordan Love falls a little bit, maybe they're a team that goes and takes a swing on him. But I don't know if that's necessarily what they're gonna do. I don't know if I feel great about that. But the thing about New England is no one has a beat on them ever. They're their decision-making processes in the draft are always all over the place, and you never know what you're getting with them. I wouldn't be like. There's nothing that would surprise me.
No.
They wanted to go, but it would be Jordan Love. The guy they would be taking, I think, would be Jordan Love. I don't think they'd be in on Hurts. I don't think they'd be in on Eason. I think if they're going to take a swing on a dude, it's going to be Jordan Love if he falls.
All right, so who is your favorite player overall in this draft class? It doesn't have to be for the Chiefs. It can be from any player.
Ooh, that's a good one. Let me think here. Like, there's a couple that like I really like Clyde Edwards-Helaire, even though I'm not like a big fan of drafting a running back. That's a guy that I really like a lot. He's one of my favorite players in this class. I really like Jeff Gladney, the cornerback from TCU. He's ultra competitive. He's got really quick feet. I actually think he might be a guy that the Chiefs might wind up looking at in the first round, potentially, because he's kind of, I don't know if you guys remember Jair Alexander a couple years ago.
Yep.
Yes.
But he's got the same kind of mentality. He's got that same kind of energy about him. He's competitive. He's feisty. He's got really quick feet, good ball skills, good football character. So like those are a couple guys that I really like, and I depending on like Jeff Gladney for sure, I'd take him in the first round, no doubt.
Yeah, I mean, I think when as a Chiefs fan, just inherently we're looking more at corners and linebackers and stuff. But you did bring up receiver earlier, and I think it's a position that not many Chiefs fans understand is kind of a need because Watkins and Demarcus Robinson are done after this year, and there's really no telling if they're coming back or not. Who's a receiver that the Chiefs could realistically take on day 2 or 3 that would fit the scheme well, in your opinion?
Yeah, I mean, I think the good thing for the Chiefs is, and this is like, I mean, obviously, guys, we're in this weird time right now where, there's not going to be an off season the same way we're typically used to. There's probably not going to be chances for these rookies to get in there and learn and grow and develop at OTAs and all that stuff. So that kind of throws a wrench into things. The Chiefs experience at the receiver position, and they could go line up and play today and be all right, like with Demarcus Robinson and Sammy Watkins. So that gives you a little bit more flexibility. And with as good of a draft class as this is, I think you can take a chance and maybe you wait until day 4 to draft one of the guys that everybody's worried about the injury history because they haven't had clear medicals and stuff, and they haven't been able to go get the medical rechecks and all that stuff. So maybe a guy like there's a guy named Brian Edwards out of South Carolina. Did Missouri play South Carolina this year?
Yes, they did.
Yes,
That
was one of their few wins in the SEC.
Yes, one of the few wins we got.
1 or 2.
Yeah, there you go. So the receiver, there's a receiver out of South Carolina, Brian Edwards, and he's a stud. I think he's got a little bit of Deebo Samuel vibe to him. He's big, he's physical after the catch. He's got good balance for a receiver. He actually kind of profiles as a guy that should be able to, could potentially replace Sammy Watkins in 2021. So if you can get a guy like him, he normally goes in like the second round if he's healthy and if the receiver class isn't as insane as it is. So that's the kind of guy I'm trying to target. Even at like 96, if you took him at 96, I wouldn't be upset at all. And that way you're getting good value in a really deep receiver class. And like I think he's a guy that could step in 2021 and fill in at that X role, no problem.
John,
do we want to move on to the question? That's up to you guys.
Hold on, I got one more.
One more question, John.
I got one more football question though. All right, and you're a quarterback guru apparently because you knew Mahomes was going to be a god before the Chiefs even took him.
Yeah,
you were the one that wanted him. So I've got to say this.
I was the guy. He was my guy.
He was. Yeah, no, you nailed it. So I got to ask, why are scouts so high on Jordan Love? I see him mocked in the first round, and I just honestly had never heard of him until this offseason. What about him has scouts like so excited?
I think, as far as a guy that has all the tools, he's got them. And he's got really great arm talent. He's got the build. He's got the ability to get out of trouble from the pocket. There's a lot some of his high end moments. Like this is one of the things that it's kind of weird about the NFL draft. And like I don't know like if I'm all the way in on him, but I do really like him. I think there's a lot to like about him. But if you turned on his 25 best plays, he stacks up with just about anybody in this draft class. And some teams actually do that with their coaching staff. Sometimes their coaches, some teams will ask for the top 25 plays for their coaching staff to evaluate, so they can see, what the high-end version of this guy is, because there's a lot of confidence that they're going to be able to get the most out of that player. Jordan Love's top 25 plays are exceptional, and he's athletic, he's big, he's willing to hang in the pocket, he throws with touch to all levels of the field. There's a lot to like about him. There's just a lot of really boneheaded mistakes, and some of it can be kind of explained away with his supporting cast. 2 years ago, I think he threw 6 interceptions or something ridiculous like that. He had a phenomenal season. This year, he threw 17. He's had a good process, though. He's really helped himself with his interviews. He's helped himself at the combine and all that stuff. I could see a team liking and falling in love with him and believing that they can get the most out of him. He's a risk, though. But you looked at what happened with Mahomes. You have to swing for talent and hope that you can develop them. You just got to make sure that the makeup of the kid is right. I think there's some good things and some positive indicators with Love in his makeup.
All right, so every time we have a guest on, we end the interview with this question. So before we say the question, just know this isn't a simulation and this will not be real life. Who do you think would win in a fight? One Conor McGregor or 30 10-year-olds?
It's a bizarre question.
And this is recess. Like, this is going to happen at your elementary recess, so anything's game.
But we do not promote child abuse.
Yes,
No, we're not saying that.
This is like a combine question. Like, this is like what these guys
No,
do
you know what?
at
This
the
probably
combine.
is. I just thought, I never thought of it that way. But, like, I could see them asking a quarterback, like, who do you think would win this fight? And he'd be like, what? And they'd be like, oh, not good at decision-making, slow. Like, we're basically head coaches at this point.
I think. Oh man, it's just if the 10-year-olds are strategic enough.
Well, like,
about
we're
it.
just going to go pick 30 10-year-olds at an elementary school random. Like, you're going to have some good ones, some bad ones, and some normal.
Yeah.
Give me the 10-year-olds.
Thank
Oh
you.
my
Thank
God.
you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank goodness.
John,
I
you
think
literally
they
said
can-
McGregor last
No.
time.
I was on Team 10-year-olds.
No, McGregor. Team McGregor.
I think if they're smart enough, like you get one, like if one gets around one leg and one gets around
That's
the
what
other,
I'm
it's over
saying.
for
I
them.
literally say if you can get something to wrap around him, like there's gonna be a front line. That's obvious. It is. I'm sorry if you're one of the first 4 that are going at him, but if you get it wrapped around him, you can just get people going at him, and I think they win.
Yeah,
I
if you
mean,
can get
it's
like
just-
6 making
But
contact.
think about it. They're going to approach him, and he's just going to leg sweep them and kick them all out and basically
It's not
end them.
that simple, though.
But if he leg sweeps one, then where's his balance? And
Exactly.
then that's tough.
Okay. But if he can get up in a fight with Khabib, like, there's no reason he can't
could've.
get up
He
in a
would've
Okay,
got-
but this is
He
different.
did.
Yeah.
He lost, but he got up.
You just realized
But-
you were wrong, and you just tried to bring in Khabib. Okay, you're
No.
wrong.
He's going to
He
get
got-
swarmed.
No, even if he does get swarmed, he's been put on the ground by much more physical, gifted
I mean, you
people.
see,
and
he's
gotten
going
up.
against about 3,000 pounds here, I feel like. Like,
3,000.
3,000? Jesus, John. I don't know what
3,000?
10-year-olds
30
do
times
know.
100? 30 times 100?
I mean,
He might not be right, or he might not be wrong. I mean, like,
Yeah.
30 10-year-olds. What would that be? Would that
I
be
think-
second,
I
third
think-
grade?
the
That'd be like
biggest
5th
que-
grade, right?
No, that
Fourth
no,
grade.
That'd be
No,
third
it'd be
and
like
fourth.
third grade.
Yeah, third and
The
fourth.
biggest-
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think
so
the biggest thing for that is just the intent of the 10-year-olds. Like, how aggressive are they?
It's life
How
or death.
angry
Then
are
they know it. They know it. It's
But
life or
understand
death.
this.
If they know it's life or death, it's over. I'm sorry. Rest in peace, Connor.
But think about it. Think about there is a fear factor in this. Like, if you see your little buddy just get up and get absolutely pummeled, you're not gonna
Well,
go
you're
in
not
there
able
with
to leave,
confidence.
so
But
you
then,
might as well
but
go
Connor
try.
has to pummel all of them. I
Yeah,
don't think
so,
there's
But
a
like,
runaway
your
option.
confidence is going to be torn if you see someone just get absolutely demolished in front of you.
Yeah, then you better go at him with all you got then. Otherwise, you're going to end up
Exactly.
like your buddy over there.
I'm telling you, it would. I mean, it's never going to happen, obviously. But I'm
If
Team
someone makes
Connor.
a simulation, we will pay
We
you.
need some. Computers are smart enough to do this. So if someone wants to do this, we can look at it.
But
without
that's
the
going to wrap
gruesome
this
reality of
interview
it.
up. And Kent, once again, we appreciate you coming on this podcast. And if you guys like this interview, make sure to leave a like, subscribe. And we did just drop a new website, which is primetimesports.wordpress.com. So if you guys want to go check that out, that'll be awesome. Other than that, Kent, do you have anything?
No, thanks for having me. Thank you for giving me the weirdest question I've ever been asked in my life. I really appreciate it.
Yes,
No
you're
problem.
welcome.
Absolutely.
Have a good one, guys.
No problem.